40 years old, 23 years, 233 caps, 146 goals, and one trophy. The only one that ever truly mattered, slipping away for the very last time. The 92nd minute of stoppage time. Seville burning under the floodlights. Ferran Torres and Mikel Merino exchange a simple combination in added time. The goalkeeper can do nothing. Spain are through. Portugal are done. And the camera finds Cristiano Ronaldo. And what you see on his face is not ordinary heartbreak. It is the look of a man who knows, deep in his bones, that this was it. The last dance. The final curtain. Permanently over. The match itself was a tightly coiled study in competing philosophies. Roberto Martinez set his team deep, trusting his low block to hold Spain at bay and hurt them on the counter. For long stretches, it almost worked. Mikel Oyarzabal, Spain's top scorer at this tournament, had the clearest chance of the first half, a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and somehow dragged the ball wide. That miss defined 45 minutes of cautious, careful, suffocatingly nervous football. Ronaldo was invisible. Lamine Yamal was active but rarely threatening. Both teams were so respectful of each other's danger that they almost forgot to attack. And here is the pattern this World Cup has been ruthlessly establishing. Defensive football at the highest level is a loan, not a gift. You can hold the line for a long time, but eventually the pressure finds the crack. Morocco sat deep against Argentina before conceding. Brazil under Ancelotti absorbed everything Norway threw at them and still went home. Defending for 90 minutes with absolute focus and zero errors is almost superhuman. All it takes is one lapse, one moment of lost concentration, and everything collapses. Luis de la Fuente sent on Torres and Merino with fresh legs and a clear mandate, and they broke the stalemate inside minutes. One combination, one finish. 23 years of Cristiano Ronaldo chasing the World Cup came to a close on someone else's terms. The tears came immediately. He stood there on that pitch, 40 years old, the most decorated Portuguese footballer in history, and he wept openly. Because he knows. Everyone in that stadium knew. He told the Portuguese press afterwards, "What would I say to myself in 2006? Always give everything for your country. When you finish, you will be at peace knowing you gave your maximum. My conscience is clear. You cannot criticize someone who tries with everything they have." There is something deeply moving about that, and yet there is also a question Portuguese football has danced around for years. Did his presence in this squad, at 40, with his need to be the central figure, limit what this extraordinary generation could actually have become? That is not disrespect. That is just the honest conversation football always eventually forces. Because what he gave to Portugal is genuinely staggering. 233 appearances, a world record. 146 international goals, the highest total in the history of men's international football. 6 European championships played, 6 World Cups. The Euro 2016 final. That extraordinary night in Paris when he limped off on a stretcher, then spent the rest of the game prowling the touchline as a de facto coach, screaming, pointing, urging, organizing every move, until Eder struck and Portugal became European champions for the very first time. The 2019 Nations League, the 2025 Nations League, where he scored the decisive goal that sent Portugal to a penalty shootout victory over Spain in the final. He has won more with his national team than any Portuguese player ever. And still, the World Cup stayed beyond reach. Always the same story. One trophy, the biggest trophy, permanently out of reach. Martinez is gone, afraid to drop Ronaldo and simultaneously unable to unlock this generation's full potential. According to Ebola, Portugal are set to appoint Jorge Jesus, who won the Saudi Pro League title with Al Nassr. He presses, he attacks, he adapts instinctively, and he knows how to manage Ronaldo without the constant friction that defined the Martinez years. Whether Ronaldo even features in this new era is a conversation for another day. Today is about the ending of something that may never come again in Portuguese football. If you love this kind of no-holds-barred football breakdown, subscribe right now because what comes next will genuinely make your blood boil. Because while Ronaldo was saying goodbye in Seville, something much uglier was unfolding. Something that crosses from the football pitch into politics, into the White House, and straight into a scandal that has shaken the sport at its foundations. Folarin Balogun, American striker, red card against Bosnia-Herzegovina, a clear stamp on an opponent's ankle, automatic one-match suspension. That is not ambiguous. The rule is explicit and non-negotiable. Except, apparently, when the host nation's next match is a World Cup last 16 tie. FIFA made Balogun's suspension conditional, citing an obscure clause so buried in the regulations it had barely ever been applied. And the reason this forgotten footnote was suddenly discovered? Donald Trump personally telephoned Gianni Infantino and asked him to reverse the ban. Trump later confirmed the call publicly. "Everyone's talking about a red card like it's normal. I didn't even know what one was. When they told me, I said, 'Are you kidding me?'" What would you feel like if we took Messi out for kicking someone? You can't do that. He added that he understands sport very well, and it definitely was not a foul. The President of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Belgium appealed immediately. FIFA refused to provide a written explanation of why the appeal was rejected. During a pre-match coordination meeting, FIFA deleted from their own presentation the entire section dealing with automatic player suspensions. They literally removed the rule from the room to avoid explaining why they were breaking it. UEFA responded with fury. Cheferin's statement called the decision unprecedented, incomprehensible, and unjustifiable, and said it had crossed a line. Because it had. A head of state phoned the head of world football, asked him to bend the rules for the host nation in a knockout match, and Infantino said yes. That is the corruption of sport's most fundamental premise. The idea that the rules apply equally to everyone, regardless of who is watching or who is calling. And then came what you can only call karma. Belgium walked in furious and focused like a team possessed. Rudi Garcia left De Bruyne, Doku, and Lukaku on the bench, a brilliant defensive gamble, and it strangled the American attack completely. Charles de Ketelaere played as a striker and was breathtaking, 2 goals and an assist. Belgium won 4-1, and Balogun, the man whose ban was reversed by a presidential phone call, touched the ball fewer times than anyone else on the pitch. He was a ghost. The political intervention achieved nothing except exposing how rotten the decision was. Conversations are now happening inside UEFA about formally challenging Infantino's presidency of FIFA. Multiple executives are reportedly working behind the scenes to find a candidate who can unseat him. The Balogun affair may prove to be the moment that finally ends the Infantino era. One phone call too many from the wrong office. The tournament rolls on. Ancelotti stays with Brazil despite the Norway defeat, backed publicly by the federation. Jordan Henderson's World Cup ended before it even started. The England midfielder jumped a hoarding celebrating the Mexico win, broke his wrist in the fall. Not a single minute of football played. Mbappe ignited a full diplomatic incident with Paraguay after his on-pitch behavior prompted a senator to make comments so offensive that France's federation is pursuing legal action, and Paraguay's president had to personally telephone Macron to apologize. Atletico Madrid are quietly rebuilding. Alejandro Grimaldo signed, Morten Hjulmand from Sporting Lisbon closed for around $45 million, Lee Kang-in from Paris Saint-Germain confirmed for $40 million, all to replace the extraordinary presence of Antoine Griezmann. Nottingham Forest have handed Oliver Glasner a 3-year contract, a genuinely exciting appointment, assuming Marinakis gives him the stability to actually build something real rather than pulling the trigger the moment results wobble. Through all of it, what stays is that image. Ronaldo on the Seville pitch, tears on the face of the man who broke every record, won every individual prize, gave every last piece of himself to Portugal for 23 years, and still could not reach the one thing that would have made the story complete. The World Cup will not be on his shelf. It never will be. So tell me, does that absence define him? Or does everything else make the story complete? The 233 caps, the 146 goals, 2 Nations Leagues, and a European Championship. Is that enough without the World Cup? Drop it in the comments. Every take welcome. Subscribe if you are not already here, because this tournament is delivering extraordinary drama every single day, and you do not want to miss what is still to come.